Okay, just talking. Number 25. My name is Phil, and you're listening to The Lip. Yeah, just talking episodes are some of my favorite ones, as anybody who's ever listened to me before knows. Excuse me. I can promise you that this episode is no different than any of the other ones. For certain, I was actually doing something a little while ago, right before I came out here to do this recording, which is on June 2nd, 2026. And this will be released on June 6th, 2026. So I'm a little bit early, but for me, early is good. But I'll also say that I actually ran through the ones that I had waiting to go. And it's time to now start fresh. So if I'm going to start fresh, I might as well start fresh right away on a week that a show comes out. Sounds good to me. This one's going straight to Saturday when it comes. It'll be right here, right now. Didn't wait, hasn't sat. Anything current, relatively anyway, is definitely the way it is. Um, man, haven't done anything over different for the last couple days. I mean, last few shows seem to do pretty well, and I enjoyed doing those, and can't wait to see how people are gonna like just talking again because I enjoy making these shows a lot. Now, like I said, prior to me coming out to get ready to do this show, I was messing around on Instagram and I saw something which was rather funny. It also is going to be possibly included in this show. Well, no, definitely will be. There's no doubt because for certain I'm going to use what I saw on Instagram and it's going to be the basis for the spear of the week. There's no doubt about it. There's nothing that I can think of that's worse than this, at least this week. And we're really early, and that's crazy. But I'm already prepared to say that yeah, this wins, no doubt, no doubt. This wins. Um, whew, boy, pretty excited about this one because it's also the week that I had determined that I was going to try something a little different, but I changed my mind about doing it. Now, I don't know if I'm going to go full on change my mind or am I going to actually completely change my mind. The idea is something that I might even talk about here again in just talking, make it more random. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about that in just talking as well. Man, this is what just talking episodes are supposed to be about. Me just talking. So the fact that I thought about this and I'm ready to talk about this is perfect. I have notes that I've been backlogging for a couple weeks, things that I saw, stuff that I wanted to talk about in Just Talking 24 that didn't make the cut because of time constraints. So I figured, like I like to do, if I can roll it over, I'll roll it over. And that's primarily what I'm going to do. And just based on the fact that I have a couple of fresh things that literally happened, one today, and like I said, my thoughts about this new show idea, I might as well just talk about that right here, right now, too. So, I don't think without much further ado, I'm going to go ahead and ring the bell and begin the main event. Where to shall we begin? Hmm. We take care of a little bit of the old business before the new business. I think we should. And I think I will. And the way we're going to start off with the old business, going to start off with a dollar store trip that I took. Man, the dollar store. You go in there, you pick up stuff real quick. For me personally, I love to go to the dollar store for storage items. Plastic bins that you can store food in, or sometimes cook food in, and maybe you shouldn't cook it in that often. But you see, The beauty of it is you bought it at the dollar store, or should I say, the $1.25 store now, if you know the store that I'm talking about. And, well, in that process, I would go and get a lot of plastic containers, and sometimes I would go in there and I have to admit, some of my favorite toothpaste is actually in there, relatively cheap. And I've gotten to the point where I'm beginning to like to use um, a charcoal toothpaste, and it's really cool because if I haven't told you what my favorite absence of color is, it's black. Not my favorite color because black is the absence of color. And it turns out that this charcoal toothpaste that I've been getting is in fact black. I don't know about other ones, but this one definitely is, and I think it's cool. You go ahead and you put it on your toothbrush, and it's black, and it's so cool. And you'd think it would taste disgusting, but truthfully, it really doesn't. It's really kind of minty. It's nice, it really is. And then for the last month, I've also been using a mouthwash, which is a whitening mouthwash, which I've never used a whitening mouthwash before. So in combination, the last month, I've been using them both. Seems like this is a commercial, but not really, because it's just all leading up to where I'm going. You know how I like to do that sometimes. I like to set things up, and that's how I'm setting it up by telling you the products that I bought. I actually went in to get some of that black charcoal toothpaste, that whitening mouthwash, and I even bought a couple of all things. I'm not really sure how it makes a difference. Charcoal toothbrushes. I don't know if they make any difference. The jury is out on that. I couldn't tell you. We'll find out in a month or two, I guess. Maybe. I don't know if that makes a difference. But the point of this matter is, I was at the dollar store and I saw some very interesting things. And amongst those interesting things would be two very specific things. And amongst these specific things, they happened at the same time. Now, that's what makes it even cooler. I already had my toothpaste, my toothbrush, and my mouthwash, and were on the conveyor belt getting ready to get rung up because I was next in line. There was one person ahead of me. And while that person was getting ready to pay, I looked over and I saw what I think is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I don't know how long they've been out, but I know that the first time I noticed it, and I tell you, I wish I had some right now. I saw some Tic Tacs in that area that people want you to just grab stuff that catches your eye, and this caught my eye. And for many of you, it might catch yours, but it might not be as aggressive the catch to your eye as it was to mine. Because these Tic Tacs were of a very specific flavor. And that flavor was, of all things, Dr. Pepper. Now, at first I was extremely skeptical, thinking to myself, okay, how are these going to taste? Dr. Pepper Tic Tacs. One of the best parts of Dr. Pepper is when you open it up and you get that first sip and you get the carbonation and the Dr. Pepper taste at the same time. That's what just makes the Dr. Pepper so great. And then I'm looking at them and I'm like, I know it's not going to have the carbon flavor, but is it going to be close to Dr. Pepper itself? One way to find out. Picked up those Dr. Pepper Tic Tacs, put them right next to my toothpaste. And I said, okay, we're going to see just how this stuff tastes before we brush our teeth. Now, that was the first thing that happened. Remember how I told you I was next in line and there was a person directly in front of me? Nice lady. And she was paying cash, something that is becoming more and more rare as time is going on. And I'm looking as she's just about to hand the cashier the money, and it turns out Her total was $54 and some change. It remembered it popped in my mind, and I sort of locked it in place once I was watching this lady pay. Now you're gonna ask yourself, why do you care what the person in front of you's total is at a dollar store? $54. I mean, you can spend that at this day and age pretty much anywhere, anywhere at all, especially the gas station, right? But $54 is what this lady's total was. No, it wasn't 54. I'm wrong. I am wrong. It was 53. You see, I forgot that quickly. It was actually $53, and that's what made it so interesting. Because the lady goes and she starts paying. She pulls out a wad of bills, and I'm not exaggerating. It was at least as thick as. Let me see. There's something around here that resembles the thickness of this wad of bills. It was a pretty hefty wad. It really was. Um, this is about right. A stack of cards, about that thick. It's a pretty healthy wad of bills. And I'm thinking to myself, whew, boy, that's a nice little wad you got there in my mind. I'm thinking, it's great. It's a nice little pile of money you got there. And then she starts peeling off a few. And I'm listening to her count. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's $53. And she's counting by two. Two, four, six. I'm thinking she's going to stop. And she's going to hand three bills to the cashier. You figure if you count to three and you're counting two, four, six, you think, okay, I'm thinking in my mind 20, 40, 60, right? Just logical. $53, and here's three $20 bills. $60, you're going to get some change back. No. After she got to six, she then goes 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Not going to bore you with me counting, but she continued to count by two. Why? Because that really thick wad of money that she had in her hand was all $2 bills. I mean, all of them $2 bills. Now, I've mentioned more than one time that I worked at Wawa, and my mother worked at a bank. So I'm no stranger to $2 bills. Occasionally, somebody would come in and they would have a $2 bill for a coffee, or they would have a couple of $2 bills and they'd buy a few things. And sometimes they would just be coming in. Very rarely, when I was working at Wawa, somebody would come in and say, "Oh, can I get some singles, or can I get a $10 bill?" And they'd give me five $2 bills. And I'd be like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And sometimes, if I had any money on me, I would actually exchange the money for the bill because I like $2 bills. But she kept counting, and that wad didn't seem like it got any smaller. And then she looked around at the cashier and said, "Man, I'm sorry. This guy that I work with just was messing with me. And when he gave me the cash to get this stuff, he gave me all these $2 bills." And I was like, in my mind, I was like, what? So you're working somewhere and you had petty cash, and your petty cash was all in $2 bills? Like, what? Who does that? And of all things, I mean, man, she got all the way up to 50, so that's 25 $2 bills, but her bill was 54, and she had to go and put out two more. And I was like, my goodness. Well, 53, and she paid 54. So that's 27 $2 bills. And like I said, that wad that she had in her hand full of money was still pretty fat after that. So that joker must have been like, hey, I'm going to really mess with you. And he might have given her like $200 worth of $2 bills. And that's just insane. Because I don't know about you, but even when I was working at Wawa, I never saw more than, I think, don't get me wrong, I'm going to say just in general, because some of them were dropped in the electronic safe and you really didn't get to look at them. But the ones that were in my register at any given time, I never had more than $20 worth of them. So that's 10. And like I said, this was at least $200 in $20 bills because she peeled off 27 of them pretty quickly, and there was a lot of them left. There was a lot of them left. At least, my best guess, somewhere in the neighborhood of a good another, at least $150. Just rough number in my head. So I'm guessing it was at least $200 worth of $20 with the $2 bills that this lady had, and that was just so incredibly odd. But at the same time, it was really cool because that made it a very, very rare situation in this day and age. First of all, like I said, almost nobody pays in cash anymore. Almost nobody does. And sometimes when you're waiting for somebody to pay in cash, you kind of look at yourself and you're like, wow, this is a little strange. When, of course, 20 years ago, you would have batted an eyebrow. Everybody had cash. Everybody did 20 years ago. It wasn't even an issue. It wasn't a thought. It wasn't. People were getting more and more cards, but as many cards as there was even more people who still pulled out some bills and pulled them out and put them in your hand. It's crazy. Now I sound like the old man yelling at the clouds, but to see cash was interesting, but to see $2 bills was even more interesting. And the funny part about that is, I mean, some kids don't even realize that $2 bills even exist. It's amazing. And even funnier than that is there's going to come a time where, in fact, today just so happens to be one of my cousin's daughter's birthday. Happy birthday, Potato. This kid is going to grow up and literally maybe see a penny if somebody shows it to her. And that's if there are any left by the time she's able to functionally grab a coin and not put it in her mouth. Yeah, because today's her first birthday. So, I don't know if this kid's going to see a functional penny ever. And the fact that that is a thing is also quite amazing. Just as amazing as the $2 bill, just as amazing as somebody paying in cash in general. And I just had to bring that up. And oh, I'm not finished with the entirety of that dollar store story because I did in fact try those Dr. Pepper Tic Tacs, and true to form, they actually tasted very, very good. They tasted like uncarbonated Dr. Pepper. It was the most amazing thing that I've ever had in quite a while. I was real happy, and I'm glad to know that they're still around. So from time to time, I might pick a container of them things up. Mm. Now, I'm gonna talk about. Ooh, what are we gonna talk about? Talk about the gym. Why not? I love talking about the gym. I have two different things that I like to talk about, and they kind of combine themselves into one thing, if that makes any sense. But here it comes. Essentially, in 2017, when I reintroduced myself to the gym, the one that I went to was open 24 hours. And that's a pretty weird thing to say that you're super excited about a gym being open 24 hours until you've done it. It's the greatest thing ever because I had really little kids at the time. They were really little. Like I said, 2017, doing the quick math in my head, when I started back in there, that would have meant that I would have had 5 going on 6, 4 going on 5, and 3. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. 2. Mm-hmm. So 5, 6, 2. So the three of them combined for the age of 11. No, no, not 11, because that would be 13. And I think it was 11. I'm pretty sure now that I'm thinking, going back in my head, it would have been 5, 4, and 2. That sounds closer to right. 5, 4, and 2 at that time, 2007. 3 combining for 11 makes sense. I think that is. I don't think it was 13, because nobody's birthday is until second half of the year after August in that group. So, nevertheless, I had the 3 kids between the ages of, no, 3 kids at a total age of between 11 and 13, let's say. Which meant that they would go to daycare in the morning, and they would be in bed by like 7 or 8. So I had a lot of time where I could go to the gym after they went to the daycare and after they went to bed. And sometimes I would go after they went to bed, depending on how I was feeling. If I felt up to doing another workout, I would go until after I would wait until after they went to bed sometimes and do a second workout. And during that time period, I could go. I'd leave at like 9, come back at 10, or leave at 10 and come back at 11. And when I did that, it was a really cool situation, because when I went to that late night, or from what I would say later night scenario, I would go, and it was funny. My favorite situation, when I went at 10, happened like 3 or 4 times. I went at 10 at night. They're all asleep. The wife's semi asleep, and I'm going to the gym. I had walked through the door, and there was a guy by himself at the counter, the gym worker, and then one other guy had just finished his workout as I came in at 10. So he came in, let's say 9 o'clock, and he was done. And he's now leaving, and there was nobody else in the gym, so he had the gym all to himself. And then he left, and it's my turn at 10 o'clock, and I had the entire gym completely to myself, nobody else in there. I would finish up my workout, and just as I come out of the locker room and get ready to go to the front door, another guy showed up. And this is at 11. And I was the only one in the gym, and now I'm leaving, and now this guy is the only one in the gym. So for 3 hours, there was only 3 people in the gym, and all of us had a private gym. We could do anything we wanted. There was no waiting on anything. It was just us and the gym and the one attendant. That was it. And like I said, that happened like 3 or 4 times when I went at 10, because during that time period of 2017, before I got into the academy, I would go to the gym at a lot of different hours, a lot of different times, early in the morning or late at night. And when I went that late, at those 3 times, 3 or 4 times, give or take, I can't remember how many it was, it's been a little while, I had a private gym, the person before me had a private gym, and the person after me had a private gym. Now, this only happened during the COVID era. That's the only time that this happened. And for some reason, when it happened, or rather after the COVID era, and that's what the problem was. Once they started closing stuff down, they closed the gyms. The owners of the gyms were able to reevaluate things and how it was working, and because of that, they were able to realize that during those time periods that these gyms were empty with like I said, me and those other guys would go in there, and it would just be us, just one person. Like of those 3 or 4 times that there was just me and everybody else, and just me and those other guys during that 1 hour period of time. And it was usually between, like I said, I'm going to guess between 9 and even midnight. Oh, excuse me. That the gym was just individuals like that. It's not a good business model. I'm not gonna lie, it's not. But at the same time, it's a great business model. Think about it. You have all these people paying monthly subscription, and the thing that they're paying for, there ain't nobody there. So people are just paying for nothing. There's all this available space. But at the same time, the owners are like, well, that means I have to keep the lights on. That means I have to keep the electric on for all this equipment. That means I have to keep that guy sitting there at the counter. And they recognize that, well, maybe we don't want to do that anymore. And they sure enough said no when everything opened back up. And in fact, the gym that I go to quite literally changed its hours where it closed. I believe at one point it went down to 11, and then they actually moved to a better spot a couple years ago, not too much farther away from where it is. And now they close at 9. They open at 5, they close at 9, whereas it used to be 24 hours. Because now you have a small window where you don't have any lights on, mainly. You don't have to worry about hiring somebody to sit there and watch the place. You're just saving a little bit of money every month, every day. Your profit is going to be better. I can't be mad at it, but I can be mad at it because I'd like the option to be able to go to the gym at that time. But of course, the way to solve that problem is become a multi-millionaire and have a personal gym in my mansion, and then I can go whenever I want. Solves that problem. You see, when we think about things, we can work through solutions very easily, and that's one way to do it, right? Right. Well, that just means I'm gonna have to go play the lottery. It looked like it was a couple of them. We're getting close to 200 million in one of them, and it looks like the other one's getting close to 400 million. That's enough to put in a private gym. Mm-hmm. That would work, even after taxes. Even the smaller 180 after taxes would still be enough to get a private gym. It would, especially if, and I do say if, the gym doesn't have you don't have to worry about people doing weirdo stuff. Now I know I talked about a weirdo doing some crazy stuff a couple shows ago, but I had this other one that did other weirdo stuff that was even worse in my opinion. Like it took everything in me as usual to sort of not turn into the Red Hulk and tear this guy's arms off and beat him to death. But I didn't, and I feel proud of myself for not doing that. I really do. As they say, it's a step in the right direction. What did this individual do? Well, let's go back to March 1st of this year, 2026. It's early in the morning. I get there, I don't know, 6 o'clock, and I'm about to do an upper body set for the day. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing upper body. And while I'm doing upper body, it turns out that we'll pretend he's a gentleman, is working out across from me, essentially, in a cable situation. Now, I was doing some tricep pull downs, and this guy was about to do some cable crosses. Now, for those of you who don't fully understand how the cable machines work, there's literally just what it says. There's weights attached to cables, and you have to attach different attachments to the cable. And using the attachment, you're able to manipulate the cable which pulls the weight. Now, depending on what type of attachment you put on the cable and what way you manipulate the cable will determine on the type of exercise that you're going to do. I was doing tricep extension, pull downs, where I take the tricep bar and I would just pull down. This guy wanted to do cross, uh, wanted to do cable chest exercise. And so I'm sitting in a spot and I'm doing my second set, and the guy shows up. And one of the things I hate more than anything else is when people don't put their stuff back. It just drives me nuts. I get that. And I can understand how he could have some disappointment with this. So he goes and he sets up the one cable on one side and pulls a tricep, just not even a tricep extension strap, it's a strap. And he pulls it off of the cable and he throws it on the ground, and it lands probably anywhere between 5 and 6 feet of where I'm standing, getting ready to do my next set. He then proceeds to walk past me and go and get the attachment that he wants, which is sitting on the appropriate place for the equipment to go. Now, I don't know if I was mad at the fact that he threw the equipment within 5 feet of my personal space, or the fact that he could have just walked it over, put it back, and then taken the equipment that he needed and done his exercise. I don't know which one I was madder at, but I know it's neither of those two, because this guy made what was a near fatal choice, as I like to say, after he threw the equipment down, walked over, got the other one, attached it. He looked at me, and for some reason he wanted me to say something. But in the moment, there was no message that needed to be spoken at the time. The only message that was going through my mind was roundhouse kick. I had the distance. I had loosened up just enough where I could have executed one good solid roundhouse kick. Now, the repercussions of me throwing that roundhouse kick, assault charges aside, would have been that I would have ruined my entire week because the motion of doing a roundhouse kick would have affected my back in such a way where, and my hip, where I would be pretty much incapacitated. I don't know if I've mentioned most of the time, I have several times, that my pain level from 0 being no pain and 10 being the worst pain possible pretty much levels off and sits at a steady 6 all the time since 2022. 6. Had I done that motion, that level would have changed to probably 15. And I wisely thought better of it. I just said, why would I go and do that to myself? It just doesn't make any sense. And so I made the good choice and just finished my set and walked away. Whoo, boy. I'm thinking about it now, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I know I've got one good fight left in me. But the question is, and I answered it rather smartly, is this that day? And all things considered, nah, it wasn't. There might be a more necessary time for me to use the skills one last time. A more defined moment that requires me to do those things. But that moment right there, that wasn't the moment. And so I allowed it to pass. I don't know how. I don't know why. Well, I know why, but I don't know how. But I did. And as a result, I moved on through my day. Whew. Let's see. I'm actually going right through these. I might be able to finish all of these before I move on. Let's see. Okay. I probably talked about cashiers a lot. Turns out that I was in Target the other day, and it was a weird complaint that I would have because normally a lot of people are upset when you go to the, well, me personally, I get upset when I go to the self checkout line and the people in front of me have never used a cash register in their life. And I think it should be a requirement that you should have to have worked in retail or fast food somewhere and used a register before you're allowed to work a self checkout line. That's just me personally. You need to be able to understand how to scan things and understand how to take payment and pay before you get in that line so you don't hold up the line. And I also think that, on a side note, that anything that doesn't have a scan bar on it should be barred from being used in a self checkout line to maintain the speed of the line. So if you have fruit that needs to be weighed or numbers that need to get punched in, go to the cashier. Having gotten that off my chest, as I stand in this line at Target, there was one cashier. One. And the entire working in good order saw somebody just walk past it to make sure there was receipt tape in there. Self checkout lane was closed. Now, mind you, there was at least 10 to 15 people in this one single line with one cashier. The self checkout line at this Target has at least one, two, three, four, five, six, at least six, maybe as many as 8 registers in the self checkout line. And instead of opening the self checkout to accommodate the people who were at the line who had a few things, like myself, I only had 2 things. What they did was they actually did something strange. They opened up another line, so there was 2 lines. So now those 10 people or 12 people turned into 2 lines of 5. Where now, if they had opened the self checkout line, you could have had 6 people ringing themselves up right away, and your line is cut in half. And now that one person only has to worry about one person in front of them, and those other 6 blow their own stuff out and be out of there. And especially for me and the other person who I saw that was in front of me, there was a person in front of me and the person behind me, and both of us combined for like 10 things. So between 3 people, we had 10 things. We'd have been in and out on the self checkout, and they would have had a much smoother transition. But no, we're just going to ring up 2 people at a time. Everybody else can sit there and wait. Now, granted, it's not like I had or have anywhere to be. I'm just a retired guy now. I don't really do much of anything. But it's the mindset and practical application of the fact that I don't have anywhere to be. But I don't want to monopolize my time when I don't have to. Like, I am not a billionaire. And even if I was, the number one piece of currency that I have, that I take very, very seriously, it's the most important thing that any of us possess, not just me. It's the time we have. We're not getting any more. We don't know how much we've got, and we've already used but so much. Me personally, I've used 48 years and about a month as of this recording. How many more days, weeks, hours, minutes, seconds am I going to have? I don't know. No idea. So I don't like to waste time. I really don't. And if I could do something faster, more effectively, or just at least have the choice, I'd rather do it. And that day, Target did not give me that choice. I don't know. I can't figure out why they did that. Because most of the time, they have the self checkout wide open. I don't know what made them not do it on this particular day. And truth be known, I really don't want to know now. I don't. Because it would probably be too aggravating for me to hear. Mm. Let me see. I like this one, but I don't know. I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, I'll talk about it because this is just a weird thing. There was a summer project that the construction people were doing right about around my street, and it started last year, approximately this time last year. It was sometime around June or July that it started, and they were carving up the road pretty good, and they were blocking off traffic for quite a while. And in that process, well, I don't know. They were taking up a lot of space, and cars were moving through slowly, and there wasn't as much traffic going up my street because they would get to a certain point and they would notice that the road was closed off. Other times, right by my house, which is on the corner, sometimes they'd actually put cones up and close off my side of the street. In fact, for some weird reason, they would close up on a two-lane highway. They would literally only put the cones on my side of the street, even though the entire road was closed ahead. It was just weird. It really was. And they did that for most of the summer. And then throughout this year of 2026, during the school year, probably up until it was a while. I mean, I guess it was February or March. And what that did for quite a while was it prevented the teachers from parking directly in front of my house for a little bit. Stopped traffic from going around. It was crazy. It was really interesting. And they would leave their cones in the on the shoulder right next to my house. They'd leave them there, and I thought it was cool because, and I just left it because nobody would park directly in front of my house. I'm always all for that, and it was like that. Like I said, for months, like months and months. We're talking easily from September until February ish, and then it happened. And when I say they had cones, they also had a sign that said road closed and all that good stuff. And I was like, this is great. It's good. And then they put all that stuff right there and they left it there. And then one weekend, something changed. And that change was weird. I don't understand what was in their mind or why it happened, but they changed. Instead of leaving the cones in the street on the shoulder in front of my house, they decided to put it, they put the cones on my little patch of grass just in front of the fence. Now, I got roughly 10,000 square feet, about a quarter acre. And the fence runs along the area, minus a spot that's probably about maybe 7 feet to the curb. Now, on this day, for some reason, this one little spot, like I said, I'm on the corner, like a sort of an elbow that's right there. They decided to put the cones and the sign in that little area in front of my fence. And the crazy person that I am thinks to myself, it's like, well, I understand why you had it in the street there, but now you're putting it on my grass. Do I really want it there? Do I really want it there? I don't know. And I let it sit there. And I'm like, well, I'll think about it. This was Friday. And Saturday goes by, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking about it. And then Sunday comes by, and I'm like, well, if it's on my lawn, on my property, it must be mine. And I just said, well, maybe I'll just keep it. I'll put it in the back. It's mine. I'll have my own personal road closed sign, a couple of big barrel cones. Always thought that'd be kind of cool to have, especially in my mind, knowing that I've had nothing but problems when it comes to the streets department. They've taken a total of 5 of my trash cans since 2015 in 2 different houses. 2 different houses, 5 different trash cans. 3 of them were, well, 2 of them, no, 3 of them were $40 each. The other 2 were in the 20s. And I never got reimbursed for them after calling and filling out the paperwork that they told me to fill out. So I'm thinking to myself, well, self, I'm never going to get my trash cans back, and I'm never going to get paid for it. So maybe I'll just take the sign. And then that night, as I'm getting ready to go take the trash out, I'm looking at the signs and I'm thinking to myself, well, here's the times, moment of truth. I'm taking the signs, and then I changed my mind. I took the barrel cones, I took the road closed sign, and I put it back in the street on the shoulder where they had been before. The next day, on Monday, I go out, look out the window, then I look out the door, and I don't see them. I turn up my street, look down, and look at what I find. They took the sign completely away from my area and they moved it forward. Now, and it's across the street where it's been ever since, and that was in March. Now, my question is, did they move the signs because they changed the work that they were doing? Or was it magically because I decided that I didn't want them on my property that the signs got moved? I wonder. But of course, the answer to that question is going to be in the same place where the answer to the question of where is King Solomon's mine? Where exactly is the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail? That's where those questions are all at. They're in one book, and that book is locked away somewhere, and they can't find the key. So we'll never get the answers to any of that. The Grail, the Ark, or why they moved the signs. Mm-hmm. How much more do I got? And where do I want to go from here? Let's see. Time wise, we're doing pretty good. Um, I really like this one. I think that maybe I'll go there. No, I'll save that one for later. Okay, that's going to be for Just Talking 26 down the road. When is Just Talking 26? Let's see. Turns out that I've been a busy beaver and I've been putting together a lot of these. Oh, Just Talking 26. It's a little ways away, but not too far. Just Talking 26. I get that scheduled for August 8th, 2026. Just Talking 26. I mean, August. So I'll bring that up in August. All right. So we're gonna shut it down by doing one last thing, and this is one that's really kind of funny, and it makes me laugh because it bugs me because during this particular episode here that you're listening to right now, I had a incredible thing that I wanted to talk about. Just incredible, like to the point where I am really genuinely upset that I didn't talk about it. But there's a reason for it, and it's the reason that most people don't do things, and that is I came up with this idea at a time and a place where I couldn't write it down, and I completely forgot it, and it just hurts me to my soul. I had at least three topics that I had seen, thought about, and wanted to talk about, and the time and place that I thought about these things, and the swiftness that they just exited my mind was as if the Flash was racing Superman. Just gone. And I'm so bothered by that because the one thing in particular, which is the worst part about it, I don't remember what it was, but I remember that when I thought of it, I was really, really excited about talking about it. And it's going to go under the annals of how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. The world will never know. Now, of course, the world doesn't know, but I know because I did it when I had broken my ankle, and it took me exactly 1,299 licks to get to the center. But I wanted to make it even, so I actually licked it 1,300 times. But that's another story. Just sometimes when I'm coming up with these great ideas, I don't have my book in my hand. I don't even have my phone in my hand. Or my phone is inaccessible to me, so I can't use my phone to even just do a voice note or send somebody a text with the idea. Because of these three, and I remember there were three good ones that would have been in this show. And don't get me wrong, I like the stuff I talked about, but I could have moved some of this other stuff to August. But there were three that I specifically wanted to talk about, and I came up with two of them literally while in the process of driving. One of those two, I came up with the idea while I was driving, and my phone fell on the floor. Um, and the third one, I came up with just before I went to bed, and I didn't bother to write it down. I just said, I'll remember it. And sure enough, I didn't. So, to make a long story short, what I need to do is I need to somehow remember to write this stuff down, pull over on the side of the road, no matter where I'm at, if I come up with an idea, especially if it's one that is just really, 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 really good. And I gotta just write it down. I mean, I gotta, even if I have to just keep a little notebook with me, so I have this stuff in my hand and I can write it down right then, and it won't even be an issue. I need to do that because, boy, if I don't, I'm gonna continue to lose some really good stuff. And part of the reason why I do the podcast is so that I can remember some of this really good stuff. And if I can't be smart enough to write it down, I'll never remember it. And if I can't remember it, well, that defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it? Man. But I think that That's how we're gonna ring the bell on this main event, and we're gonna move on. And hopefully, if I come up with another idea that I want to keep in my head, I'm going to be smart enough not to forget it and write it down immediately. On that note, I'm ringing the bell, and the main event is over. Okay, now, which one are we going to do first? Three things, one thing in common. What is that one thing? Let's see what we got here now. Three things, one thing in common. Okay, I already did that one. Mm-hmm. So we're not doing that one. How about that? Came right up in the middle. So let's see what this one is. Uh, hmm. This is a sports question. But then there's another one too. I'm gonna go with this one because I think I know the answer to it. And then this other one I'm gonna go because I am pretty sure I don't know the answer to it. Alright. Here we go. The one that I think I know the answer to is Tin Cup, Caddyshack, Happy Gilmore. Tin Cup, Caddyshack, and Happy Gilmore. Now, I am really not sure because I'm not necessarily an Adam Sandler fan. So Happy Gilmore, anything about it except for one thing really sort of makes me. Oh! Duh. Alright, I got it. I'm pretty sure I got it. And the answer is golf. It's what they all have in common. Movies about golf. Yeah. So I did get that one. But this other one, I'm not sure what this one is, and I'm really a little bit focused on it. Joseph Richards, Rakib Ismail, and Roger Clemens. Oh, and I know the answer to that one too. Duh. Duh. How stupid of me. This one was much easier when I thought about it. Because, like I said, when I'm trying to get these three things with one thing in common, I know that two of these things have one thing in common for certain, so that's got to be what all of them have in common. Roger Clemens, Raghib Ismail, and Joseph Richards. Joseph Richards is not a guy that I know off the top of my head. I'm not sure who he is, but I do know who Raghib Ismail is. He used to play football for Notre Dame and the Oakland. Uh, they weren't Oakland at the time. I think it was Los Angeles Raiders when he was playing still. And then Roger Clemens, the pitcher, played for the Red Sox, the Rangers, the Yankees. And the thing that I'm 100% certain of that Raghib Ismail and Roger Clemens have in common is a nickname. And I'm 100% sure that just based on the fact that those two have the same nickname, that Mr. Joseph Richards has the same nickname as well. And that nickname is the Rocket. Mm-hmm. 100%. Okay, so Richard, so Joseph Richard was the Rocket in hockey. I definitely know the Rocket Ismail and Roger Clemens, the Rocket. Okay, just had to think real quick, and I figured it out. Wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be. What can I tell you? Sometimes they get you, sometimes they don't. I got that one. Ha ha! Got them both. Feel good about myself on those questions for sure. Hmm. Let's see. Hmm. A simple question. Let's see. Hmm. That's a heavy question. I'm not gonna go there. This one, I have got a lot of them here. This is a fun question, and I'm gonna put on. I can't possibly put everything in here. I'm just gonna put a few because I a lot. And the question is, what TV shows have you binge watched? Well, I can give you a list of TV shows that I've been binge watching since 2024 that literally takes up about 3 pages, and I can tell you that if I were to sit here and spit out every single show that I binge watched from beginning to end, it would be a list that would probably take up most of the show. Maybe I'll talk about it one time again eventually because I know I've talked about in Mount Rushmore. I talked about shows that I liked a lot, and like I said, last 2 years that's all I've been doing. I've been binge watching different shows, and I'll just name about 12 that I've binge watched, and maybe even I'll name 12. I'll name 12 total, and I'll name one that I'm currently binge watching. I'll go my favorite, which of course is the police drama, The Shield. I've binge watched, of all things, Reasonable Doubt. It's a really fun show. The Lincoln Lawyer. I'm really into that. Um, what else? Daredevil. Um, I could just about say, well, the X Men animated series and 97. 911. The Rookie. Um, what's that other one? That's really good. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's really fun. It's about a lawyer. A lot of these shows are about lawyers. Um, Lawyer with Photographic Memory. There's two different versions, but since I can't think of the name, we'll move on. Um, I'll go with House, um, Ozarks, House of Cards. Um, I think of a fun one. Fubar. That's fun. Um, Tulsa King. That's just a handful. I got a whole book full of them. Some of them are long series, some of them are short series. Um, and presently, I mean, heck, I've binge watched The Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Indoor, The Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan. Those are just the Star Wars ones. Just going quick. Star Wars Rebels. It's all good stuff. Like currently, I'm binge watching ER, and I'm up to season 13, and I'm taking breaks every once in a while. And in the middle of the breaks, I'm sort of cleaning up stuff, and in the process, I'm watching Maul, the Darth Maul series. It's great, and I haven't finished it yet. Don't spoil it for me. I have about 4 more episodes of Maul, and I'm probably gonna get to that after season 13 is over of ER. But those are some of the things that I've been binging. I think that's pretty neat. Good question. And now I think it's time for the Spear of the Week, and only one person can get the Spear of the Week, and that's that jerk who decided to throw the piece of cable equipment on the ground, walk past it, pick up something from the area where that piece of cable equipment was supposed to go back, attach the piece that he wanted to use, and then stare at me. Yeah, without question, hoo ha! You're getting the Spear of the Week. Um, well, I think we're done for today. You know where to look to catch me. Philip Henderson 5102 on Instagram. Um, join us. Join us on the Lip Facebook page. We've now gone past that 100 number. I wanted to get it done in May, and we did. We got to 100, and now we're actually at 101. Yay us. But guess what? There's room for more. There's always room for one more. No matter how many we get. We can have 1,000,000. There'll be room for 1,000,001. Join us. Join us. The Lip Facebook group. Join us. And now it's time for what is one of my favorites, if not my very favorite thing, the words of wisdom. Now, I can honestly say that, which one of these is going to be good? And they belong to the guy for sure who was in the gym who threw that stuff down. I think this is the perfect set of words of wisdom for that guy. And that would be, I will not waste my first aid skills on people who do stupid things, just in case someone who deserves it needs them. One more time. I will not waste my first aid skills on someone who does stupid things, just in case someone who really needs them is in need. Somebody who deserves it needs it. Let me say that one more time. Let me clean it up again. I will not waste my first aid skills on people who do stupid things, just in case someone deserves it is in need. That's the way I roll. I tell you, I don't like rewarding stupidity. I really don't. And on that note, my name is Phil, and you've just listened to The Lip. Ah, job well done.